Hey, welcome to the Domain Legion podcast. I'm Roman. Today we are going to be talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake. Today I am joined by Nemo Nobody. Say hi, Nemo.
Howdy, you can check me out on literally anything at Nemo Nobody.
I am also joined by Flaffy.
Hey, I'm Flaffy. I run the channel called Gaming's Brink, and I have absolutely no experience with Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, we're about to be talking a lot about that for him. So the game comes out this Friday. Not sure the upload date, but uh, me and Flaffy have both played the demo at this point. I played the old game. Nemo, you've played the old game.
And the movie, and read both the books, Denzel and Tifa. Um, I'll play that one on PS2 that had Vincent. Um, so yeah, I think I got it under book and handle.
Wait, you mean the AMV collection?
Yeah. Well, that's just the Advent Children, but yeah.
Right. It's not true Advent Children if you're not watching it without Linkin Park.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
What?
One step closer to the edge, I'm about to break.
Well, let's
And then
make that
just,
the
like,
first
slice 'em.
topic to teach Flaffy. So,
Yes.
there was a movie sequel to Final Fantasy VII,
Okay.
and there was a lot of like fan music videos posted online, and it was really popular to put Linkin Park music with it
Okay. All right.
because it was like 2007.
Oh,
Yeah.
what a good year.
Dude, now I'm getting nostalgic just thinking about the movie. I kind of want to just go and watch it right now. Jeez. All right.
It doesn't hold up. I'm going to tell you that.
It doesn't, but like it's not terrible though. I gotta say the CGI for the time was actually really
Oh
well.
no, for the time it was
Like,
great, but also
yeah,
Spirits Within for the time looked great.
yeah. I mean, Avatar came out what 3 years later, and that still holds up. So I mean, it might just be the money put into it that was kind of the issue.
Maybe. Okay, so anyways, the main topic is the remake today, which is kind of sort of a new canon, is what they're saying, but still Final Fantasy VII. Uh, so first thing I want to go over is that the demo was awesome. I loved it so much. I'm really excited to do the whole thing. Flaffy, you've also played it,
Yes.
and it's
I
like a
really.
mix between the old 7, 13, and 15 is what I can kind of gather.
Yeah, I feel about the same way. I've only played a little bit of 15 and 13, but I've really enjoy the combat in the Final Fantasy VII remake. I know a lot of people were disappointed that they weren't bringing the turn-based system back originally when they first announced it, but I think the demo was a very good way of showing off that this isn't a complete lost cause.
Well, I mean, there is the option of doing only the turn-based method, but
Oh, was there?
there is, but actually it makes the game extremely easy and honestly not very fun.
Okay.
I tried it, but so the thing is, Cloud or whoever you're playing as kind of auto attacks the regular stuff, and kind of also tries to auto dodge, but they're not very good at it.
Oh,
Or at least as far as I got. I only did like the first 10 minutes because I kind of
yeah.
just got sick of it.
You didn't like it that quick, huh?
No.
Was that the classic mode option?
Yeah, the classic mode option.
Okay.
So like the only thing you had to do was select, the drop down menu choices.
Right. Oh. Oh, okay. That's weird. I don't think I like that.
Yeah, I kind of thought it would, maybe feel like Kingdom Hearts, but it didn't.
Right. Not enough button spamming for you then.
No, I wasn't just mashing X over and over and occasionally square to guard.
Oh man, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry you had to experience that.
And there was no Donald to not cure me. That's the worst part.
Oh man.
Oh God. Donald was the most annoying part of Cage 3. I swear. You'd be running somewhere. It's like, oh, by the way, and then you say some random comment just to like kind of annoy you. It's like, okay, shh, quiet. Shh. Shimmer down now. Shimmer down.
ingredients.
It's like, it's on my little phone app. All right, I see what I gotta do. All right, I'm gonna do it sometime. Not right now. I'm trying to beat this one big guy because we're in a boss fight. But he's like, we gotta do this one thing later. By the way, it's like, thanks. Let's not die first.
See,
Uh,
that is something I do like about the remake, though, is like you can control the other characters as well. Like you could hop between them whenever you want, and I thought that was so fun.
oh, you could do that in the OG as well.
Well, in the
That's-
OG, you just controlled everyone because it was, turn-based. It was like
Yeah.
the old Final Fantasies or Bravely Default and Dragon Quest.
Mm-hmm. The Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, Chrono Trigger. Every turn-based RPG that's not Persona 3.
Yeah, we gotta name all the good ones right now so nobody attacks us in the comments.
All right, let's see.
Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VII. All right, I'm done.
Okay.
I'm kidding. Now that's really how you get rage comments.
Yeah, you're right.
No, the way we
those are just-
really get it is, all right, none of them turn-based games suck.
Ooh.
Ooh. Yeah, no, it's just I played a lot of them, but really none of them sparked my interest other than like Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy 7, and Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger 2 can go suck a nut though. I don't like that one.
Chrono Cross?
Yeah, that's the one.
I've never done
I-
Chrono Trigger.
Oh, Chrono
The
Trigger.
second one I didn't like at all. I don't know. It's just something about it. Just no.
I haven't played Chrono Cross yet, but Chrono Trigger like really pulled me in a lot. I think I got that one on Virtual Console, same time that I got Final Fantasy VI and a yawn coming in. Final Fantasy VI and Secret of Mana. Secret of Mana did not click with me any one way at all.
Really?
And then I went and played Chrono Trigger, and I thought, oh man, this is just it. This is the game.
All right.
As far as, a 16-bit RPG, which I don't like to be that guy, but RPGs, I do think, in the modern age with voice acting, really do have a upper hand in some ways. Like, obviously, they can still have a horrible story or horrible characters, but if there's good voice acting, that gives them an upper hand really quick.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
I actually disagree. I really like to in this RPG type stuff. I like to like put my own little headcanons into it and all that, and like because that's Final Fantasy VII was my first JRPG, right? So then Chrono Trigger had a very similar structure. I was like, okay, this is really cool. I like how you can put the own emotion and like what they care about, like your personal ideologies into these characters. And yeah, the artists that made the game, their message is kind of lost sometimes. But it's really cool to see like your own little adventure, and it's always anyone that plays the game has a different kind of, I guess, experience to say. Like everyone has a different like what parts of the game they liked the most, what parts were the most emotional, yada yada. Because you're reading it in your mind, and you're giving certain parts of that sentence more emotion than others, and that kind of makes the whole character arcs and all that stuff a little bit more important for certain characters.
So, tying that back to Final Fantasy VII then, because there's a lot of people who will talk about, so like Advent Children, the Kingdom Hearts games, Dirge of Cerberus, all of that stuff, Cloud's really broody and moody and all that, and a lot of people kind of have issue with that. And I'll admit, I think they take it to too much of an extreme because, like, most of...
Especially in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, especially Kingdom Hearts. Well, Kingdom Hearts I can forgive it because it's, an alternate universe, but, like, Advent Children doesn't make sense because his main character arc in Final Fantasy VII is trying to stop being a moody brat.
Yeah. Well, that's besides the schizophrenic breakdowns and all that.
Well,
but yeah,
that
basically.
too. But and then Advent Children, here he is, moody with his flip phone.
just an angsty teen all over again. It's like a 27-year-old angsty teen.
Yeah, 27-year-old angsty teen. That's Cloud and Advent
Aerith,
Children.
I don't want my soup today. Just later.
So
Oh,
did you guys like the voice acting in the 7 remake?
Oh, I absolutely love it, actually. Like, Jessie, who is a character who was kind of not developed in the old one. I know you haven't played it, but
Right.
in the old one, she was only in the intro act. Because I told you, this is going to be a extreme expansion on roughly the first 8 hours of Final Fantasy VII.
Mhm.
And Jessie was only in that part. and now she is in a 40-hour game.
Right. See, I also enjoyed the voice acting a lot, especially Barrett when he was like in the elevator talking about like kind of what's going on with the world. You got to know, this is the first time I've ever experienced this, and I have no idea what's going on. So I am getting like kind of the story, how the world is being developed, what's going on in it, and how these characters are responding to it in a very emotional way. And the voice casting or voice acting really like it really pulled the emotion out of into the moment for me. Like I really felt the moment.
So I just want to check. You're at least familiar with like the graphical style of the old one, right?
I know what it looked like, yes.
Like really blocky?
Yeah.
So that same scene in the old one, it was kind of just Barrett kind of like fist pumping, staring down, and it was like this really blocky model, just like over and over on loop. So it wasn't quite as, this. Like,
right.
When I played it, originally I was like 12 when I played it, I think. So, it still got me. Like, the game wasn't new at that point. I played it on PS3.
Wow.
But, I was
That's
12.
Crazy. The
Yeah,
thought
it
of
wasn't
that
my
is just
first
so
Final
weird.
Fantasy. I think the funny thing is, I played it in 2010, and even now, I still got to be on the remake wait train for a decade.
You're right. I'm surprised they did it. Like, I was not expecting this.
I feel like it had to happen eventually. Well, I think remakes, they are about to be something different now with games, because like between this and the recent Resident Evil remakes, they are really redefining what it is to remake a game.
Oh yeah.
Because like the Crash Insane trilogy, yeah, they're remakes, but it's largely the same thing. It's the same level design. It's not that different of an experience.
Exactly. They're just remaking the game. They're taking the old games, just putting some better graphics on them, maybe fixing the controls a little bit to make it a little more compatible with today's standards, and then letting us experience it. And they did the same thing with Spyro, I believe.
Yeah. But I played the two versions of Resident Evil 2 back to back, and they are just different games with the same story, same setting, and like the design of the mansions, they're the same mostly, but you're looking at it, over the shoulder instead of top down. The controls aren't totally awful now. The voice acting's not as cheesy, which is kind of sad.
Oh yeah?
I kind of like cheesy voice acting in Resident Evil.
It gives it its own feel. It defines Resident
Leon
Evil.
still has his cheesy one-liners, but it's not as distinct as the PS1 version. I think it's that compression, I absolutely love PS1 voice acting compression. I think
it's pretty great.
Symphony of the Night, I think, takes the cake. Like, die, monster. You don't belong in this world.
But it sounds cool though, because they have like that metal music going on in the background.
Yeah, it does.
Die, monster. So the cheesiness kind of gets like leveled out because of the just awesome music going on in the background.
Yeah. Funny thing. Ever since I heard that, so I also read a lot of Silver Surfer comics, and the voice I have for Silver Surfer in my head is Richter Belmont's.
Oh my gosh.
Somehow it's just always fit, because every issue he's always doing some really out there rant about, oh, my planet, oh, Shalabal, you're gone, and I can't see you, Galactus, I was imprisoned. But we're getting really far from Final Fantasy now.
Yeah, we are.
All right. Let's go back to Final Fantasy. I have a question. So, who is the waifu girl? All right. Is it Jessie? All right. Is it Aerith? Or is it Tifa? Who's the Final Fantasy VII girl?
I literally only know Jessie.
Ah.
See, for me, it's Yuffie, but she's not going to be in this one.
She's not in this one?
No.
Why is that?
Was Yuffie from 7?
Yeah,
Like
Yuffie's from
Kingdom Hearts
7.
Yuffie?
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts Yuffie.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just assumed all those characters were from the same game.
No, I think she was introduced in the CGI game. I mean CGI movie, and then like later on
No,
in Kingdom Hearts.
Yuffie was an optional character in 7, but in the remake, it's only the first part of the original.
I don't remember that.
So-
I remember first seeing her in the Advent Children CGI
Yeah, that's
film.
because she was a optional character. You must have missed her then.
Yeah, apparently. I'm looking her up. You. Oh, okay. Never mind. I remember her. Okay, I just forgot her name.
Because
Um,
Yeah.
Wait, did you say that on the podcast or before we started about how you don't know everyone's names?
That was before we started.
It was before. It was
Yeah.
before. Yeah. Okay. So I guess we can explain that now. I don't know characters' names very well because on the PlayStation 2 version or PS1 version, you could change the names of characters, so you could do your own like little headcanon. It could be your own like, personalized experience, and I use that feature a lot with Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VII. So when it comes to names, I will be severely lacking, but I do understand the general story of the whole thing.
All right.
Yeah, so I kind of talked to Flaffy about this the other day because he's never played Final Fantasy, but so this remake is only the intro of the original. That like there'll be a part 2, but this is just an expansion of all of Midgar. How do y'all feel about that?
So, as someone who hasn't played the story, I've played the demo and got really invested in just the demo. I feel like once I've played like 40 hours of the whole remake, I'm going to be even more invested, and then I'm going to get cut off, and then I'm going to have to wait many years to see the rest of the story.
Okay, probably like 2.
I'm gonna pull Kingdom Hearts on you.
that's-
10-year
dude,
gap.
I don't know. I'm worried that I'm gonna have to wait like 5 years for the rest of the story. And I mean, I guess it could kind of for me be like I'm waiting for like a sequel to a game, you know, like between like Halo 1, Halo 2, something like that. But I'm just like I'm gonna want it. I'm gonna want more. And the thing is, I have the original game in my house. I can pull it out and spoil it for myself, but I don't want to.
So, you know, it'd be totally awesome if they did the first part, and then the second part was just Crisis Core.
Yeah, that would be. I don't know, awesome, but that'd be something.
I don't know.
That'd be
I
something.
don't know what Crisis Core is.
Crisis Core was so there's a character from Final Fantasy VII, and I'm not going to name who,
Okay.
since you haven't played it, but he's really important, and there was a prequel game on PSP that starred him. So you don't really need it to get the full story of Final Fantasy VII, but I feel like it would be such a Chad move to do the first part of Final Fantasy VII, end when Midgar's over, and then do a remake of Crisis Core, and then do part 2 of the Final Fantasy VII remake.
I feel like Cerberus would be a better one to do again.
Well, yeah,
'cause
but that
I-
takes place
I-
after Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, true. I don't know. Just Crisis Core wasn't my cup of tea. Now I liked. Okay, I didn't like him. I don't know. I was the character that we are apparently not speaking of because of his significance. I can't actually remember his name, but it's like I'm not even gonna try and attempt to say it because if I get it right, and I'm ruining the whole thing. But
Let's just
yeah,
call
no,
him Z-Man, because his name starts with a Z, and that's easy.
Oh, I know who it is now. Yeah. So.
Oh, you know what? Flappy's played Kingdom Hearts. Zach. It's Zach.
Oh,
Oh yeah. Okay,
Zach
sorry.
is in 7?
Yeah, well, he was in
What?
the prequel.
Why are all the good characters in this game? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, I think actually there's a prequel to the prequel. I think it was like a phone app. Sorry, I will cut that out on my recording. But there's a phone game that was a prequel to the prequel, and I think it was like a Crisis Core before or something
Oh,
like that.
no, it
And
was Crisis something, but are you talking about the one where you played as the agents? What's the name of them?
Avalanche.
Not Avalanche, the bad guys. Rufus.
oh. I know what you're
I
talking
know
about
what
now.
this is. I have to Google it because I'm stupid and I forget things.
Deep Ground
uh,
or Genesis?
1 second. Wait, no, Rufus was the leader of them. Crap, I can't remember their name. I know this. Before Crisis. That's the game we're talking about. It was a phone game.
Weapon?
Let's see. Before Crisis, you played as. Da, 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 da. I'm gonna awkwardly just edit in the name right here. They were called the Turks, you fake gamer girl idiots. And now let's
Okay.
continue the conversation.
Yes, that game.
Basically, we're talking about how they made a prequel to a prequel to what you could call a prequel. So
That's crazy. I guess
Beautiful.
people really, really liked this game.
oh hell yeah, it was a great game. I invested way too many hours into it when I was little, like way too many hours.
Why though?
Well, it was between this or Crash Bandicoot, so I was like, this one's cooler. I get to kill things.
Okay, but like, why?
Are you trying to
did
say
people-
Crash is not a violent game?
No, actually, it's very violent, surprisingly, after replaying it. But I don't know. This game just struck a lot more into me, like emotionally and like mentally. Like I just invested a lot more time into this because it just like struck something with me. That's like no other game has really given this to me before. And I think this is one of the games that helped me, launch my addiction into gaming.
And I think another big thing about 7, we didn't get too many Final Fantasies in the West. At the time, at least, because we got 1, we got 4, and we got 6.
Oh.
So we missed most of them. And yeah, 4 and 6 are probably the most emotionally investing Final Fantasies.
Mm-hmm.
But like 7 was such a step up from Final Fantasy 6 in a lot of ways, like presentation wise. Like there's a debate story wise which one's better. I haven't finished 6, so I'm not gonna go into that. But like if you compare Final Fantasy 7 to just about any Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis RPG, and keep in mind, it's not even just about comparing it to Final Fantasy 6. It's about comparing it to Phantasy Star 2, Beyond Oasis, like all the bargain bin RPGs at the time. Or, from the era before. Well, okay, Phantasy Star 2 is good, but let's just leave that.
I that's a generation of gaming I never got into.
Yeah, I think I only played Final Fantasy like 3, 7, 11, and 13. Not
And
11, 10.
And I imagine the 3 you played was the DS version, right?
No. Yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah. But I think I had the disc for like the first several Final Fantasies on the PlayStation 1 and 2.
Oh,
just because my dad played those games before I was born.
Oh, I do as well, actually.
I know.
Yeah, I could probably walk in my closet and grab the little, one of those little leather disc collectors that you have.
Oh, yeah.
Just like open one of those up, there's all the discs right there.
Yeah, I have the disc in my hand right now. We got the Final Fantasy Origins collection that had Final Fantasy 1 and 2 in it, but and that's pretty much it.
Gotcha.
Although the funny thing is, 3 never made it on PS1. Like, just awkwardly, because 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 all did.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's
It's just an odd thing.
that is actually really odd.
Yeah, see, I grew up in Japan, and I thought it was weird that there's like a good chunk of Final Fantasy games that don't really get mentioned often, but now I'm realizing it's because you guys didn't get them in the US until much later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why if you talk to most people here, you'll hear them say 1, 4, 6, and then a lot of people now will bring up 3 because it had a really well-selling DS version.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I mean, 2 just sucks. Like, Final Fantasy 2 is a bad game. I'm not going to beat around the bush on that one. 5, I absolutely love it. It's underrated, and I really wish it would get some kind of new port here because the best version of it is the GBA version for Westerners. There was a PS1 version, but it was translated kind of poorly. And I don't mean like Final Fantasy IV, which was just, fun with the translation. I mean just not a good translation.
Okay.
And then there was an iOS version that got ported to PC, but the problem is they redid all the sprite work in a way that I just cannot stand.
A lot of the remakes for Square Enix's games that got put onto iOS, there's a lot of sprite work. Like, the sprite work is something I really don't like with pretty much all of it on iOS.
Yeah, like, haven't you played some of the Dragon Quests on iOS?
I have, yes.
Did they redo them there, or is it still just...
Okay, so they redid the sprite work. I'm not a fan. At least for, like, the NES titles, I'm especially not a fan of.
Yeah, so my understanding is, like, the best way to play the NES titles would be either the Super Nintendo versions or, like, the newer Switch ports, right?
My personal preference is the Game Boy Color version.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which obviously also, we never got the Super Nintendo versions, but I just heard those are the best ones.
I've never even seen them. I didn't know that was a thing, to be honest.
I think it's a thing. Maybe I'm wrong. You're better at Dragon Quest than I am.
I have no idea about the Super Nintendo era, so
let's see.
It might be true.
Oh, it was only Dragon Quest 1 and 2. That's why I was
okay.
Messed. Okay. All right. We were here for Final Fantasy VII.
We were.
Yeah. So
this remake.
I knew nothing about Dragon Quest, so I was just like, I'm just gonna stay back and let you two talk. So can we talk about how they literally created a god that can live forever, or not?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm just gonna leave that part. Okay, so
well, let's make it as spoiler-free as possible, Nemo.
All right. So I think this part of this game is kind of funny. So they're trying to make a... Okay, alright. Actually, explain how much you know about the story so far based off of what you've been told in the remake demo.
Okay.
And know that when you say the one thing, I'm going to bleep you out really big when I edit.
I'm not going to say that.
No, say it. I already said I'm going to edit it, so you have to say it now.
Now I have to say it. Okay.
Yeah, you have to
I'll say everything I know. I know... We have this character named
Sonic the Hedgehog.
He was a and not anymore. And it sounds like he doesn't really, for a very, good reason, he didn't want to. I know he got with a group of people who's, paying him to do this job. And that's what this whole intro, this demo was. They go over... There's
stars and stripes
and
stripes,
the life energy or whatever of the world, and
hitting
these corporations are
hitting.
That's a big bad, so they're going over to
say Froggy
or something, and that's pretty much it. Other than
ouchie ouch,
and that's.
Oh. I love how it's just we know all of that, and then there's this one part that happens,
Yeah.
20 hours later.
Yeah, exactly.
I have that's it.
All right. I will refrain from saying something because it doesn't necessarily have a huge impact on the story, but it is kind of, I guess, funny, and if you're not expecting it, then it can be kind of a shock. But basically, there's a certain character that you wouldn't think is super strong. That is super strong.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
so
interesting.
Do you mean Dirge of Edge Boy?
It's VV.
Oh no, that was 9. Who are you thinking of? Your naming issue is coming in.
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna look up.
I was like, VV's definitely not
VV
in this game.
No, not VV. No, not VV, but Red Boy.
Red 13.
Vincent.
Vincent.
Yeah, Vincent.
Okay.
His initials. Sorry, his initials are VV. So.
Okay.
That's why I said that.
Oh, okay. It's just I was like, you mean the mage?
No, not the actual character VV. Wait, what? Is that in this game?
No, VV was 9. Welcome to Square Enix Confusion Podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, I look up VV and it comes up with a Digimon.
There's a Digimon named VV?
Yeah,
Of
apparently.
course.
But the initials of this character is VV. That's why. say it like that, but apparently they have a lot of characters that you can't really. Dang. All right.
Dang.
Yeah, he's a lot stronger than you'd anticipate. Is all I'm trying to say.
Okay.
He also has a
See,
gun.
I didn't realize. Oh, okay.
I mean, Barrett
I
has
didn't
one
realize-
attached to his hand, so.
I didn't realize how much about this game I didn't know until now. Like, obviously, I don't know the story, but I didn't realize I didn't know the characters. I didn't even have a basic understanding of how this world works. And I think it's really, really cool for me being able to have that perspective, first of all, but then also just how this whole demo, the intro to it, affected me. Because you were here saying, talking about this like elevator scene again, that was like probably the most impactful part of the demo for me, of the entire thing. That was just like, that's what really pulled me in. That's when I started like really paying attention to what was going on. And you're telling me in the original he was just like pumping his arms, looking at the ground, being weird. Like, that's insane to me. That is like the change that happened in just this small like scene alone. That's mind-blowing.
Yeah, I think in the original, like what we did in the demo, it takes like 20 minutes in the original.
Right. That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it was 3 console generations ago.
right. Is that the beginning of the game?
Yeah, that's the beginning of the game.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Actually, I haven't seen any gameplay on the new one. How does the first boss go? I'm assuming that's in the
it
demo.
is.
The little spider creature.
It was fun.
It's fun. So here's my thing with the Final Fantasy, just the gameplay in the new one. It is like, it's really complex to start out. Like, I love it. I like complex games, but think of it like if Kingdom Hearts 2 started, during the part where you play as Roxas, you had all of the stuff Sora has at level 99.
Yeah, it did kind of feel like a lot was thrown at me at once. I went through the demo not realizing I had spells. So when I played the demo a second time, I had a much easier time.
Don't worry, it took me a few playthroughs to figure that out too, even though there's a tutorial in the main menu about it.
Same here, same here. It definitely tells me that there's spells, and the menu is there.
Am I the only one who can read?
You gotta realize, I was like 6 when I played the first few
Okay.
times.
I have no
And-
excuse.
Yeah, no, I was just like, oh, text, skip. It wasn't until I was like 7 or 8 that I actually like started reading into it and putting my own, I guess, headcanons into it with more personalized experiences.
Right.
But man, because of those personalized experiences, it has a very big part in my whole like gaming career, quote unquote.
Wait, so you were just talking
Okay.
about... So the materia system, we don't really get to do that in the demo. I'm sure there's been some gameplay video I haven't seen. I decided, after I played the demo, I decided to stop watching any trailers. Which I kind of did for Kingdom Hearts 3, because everyone knows that Square Enix likes to put huge spoilers in their trailers.
Oh.
They don't tell you it's a spoiler, but like, if y'all remember, for the Dream Drop Distance trailer, they had the young Xehanort in there.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Okay. I was not even... I didn't play Kingdom Hearts until after Dream Drop Distance came out.
Yeah, the trailers for Dream Drop Distance showed young Xehanort a lot. I didn't understand why he was there, who he was, but he was there.
Okay.
Which is a big spoiler enough to say, hey, this shouldn't be in the trailer.
Right.
And
I
if you
have
remember,
not
like,
seen...
Kingdom Hearts
any-
3 trailers, they showed a lot of, like, the final act.
I also didn't watch Kingdom Hearts 3 trailers, now that I think about it. I didn't watch
Yeah.
any of the Final Fantasy VII Remake trailers. I still have not to this day. The only the only experience I have is the demo.
I watched one because I didn't think it was real. To be completely honest, I didn't think it was real. So someone's like, "Yeah, make a Final Fantasy." I was like, "No, you're bullcrapping me." So I looked it up and it's like, "It's a thing. They're doing it," and I was ecstatic. And then I got really sad. I was like, "I hope they don't ruin it." But from what I hear and from what I have seen out of that trailer, I do think it's going to be a pretty high quality game, especially in comparison to like, actually, they're on like a winning streak. This company, Like
Yeah.
the past few games they've been making have been like really good. But
Okay, so
I just
like
hope they stay on the streak.
Final Fantasy 15, Nier Automata, Dragon Quest 11, Kingdom Hearts 3, like Square Enix has not missed a beat in a while. Like there's tiny missteps in there. Some people have like a few problems in Kingdom Hearts 3, a few issues in 15,
Hmm.
but like they haven't had a major stumble. Oh, and Final Fantasy 14, everyone, I don't play it. I'm not much of an MMO guy, but like I can't ignore how big that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. Yeah, no. They've been on a pretty big winning streak, especially after like the 2010 area where they kind of like limped off a little bit, where people were like hit or miss with all their games.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Especially with
it-
Final Fantasy 13 being
Yeah.
a thing.
So with Final Fantasy 13, which you can check out a big video I have on my channel at youtube.com/NovaZoneTV, Final Fantasy 13 came out only a few months within the same time Final Fantasy 14 did in the West, like not even a year later.
Right.
And that made the biggest low point in the history of Final Fantasy. And plus, like, all the spin-offs at the time weren't very good either.
oh, Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy 13, right? Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 13, like Legend of Lightning or whatever. Yeah.
Final Fantasy... I know some people like Dissidia. It wasn't my thing.
Forgot that was a thing.
Yeah, for fighting game, like the story's fine enough. The cutscenes and all the character interactions are cute, but like when it comes to fighting games, I much prefer the traditional Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, King of Fighters, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Which I know that's kind of just my own taste, but it's what I like. Oh, and also
Sure.
all their mobile games at the time, All the Bravest. I just remember that was the worst one, but there was some others that weren't good.
There's this one that's released on Steam and phone, and it's like a Final Fantasy. I can't remember what it is, but
I know their
basically you can
newer
play through
ones
all the
are
Final
like
Fantasy
actually
games.
good. I don't remember what they're called, but I heard the new phone games are good. Like Square Enix really learned from their mistakes.
Yeah, they had a rough patch. Now they're doing a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be completely honest. When I saw the 7 remake, so I lied about not seeing any trailers. I saw the very first one. I saw the reveal, right? Because it was live. So I saw the reveal, and when I saw it, I didn't think it was gonna be good. And people were like all excited, and I'm like, yes, I understand for nostalgia purposes. Everyone says this is the best Final Fantasy. I get it. But when I first saw it, all I saw was kind of like it looked like a bunch of hallways where you were just gonna hit, like Kingdom Hearts, you're just gonna spam X and then keep going. And it didn't look like there was much to explore. It all just seemed like hallways where you're just gonna hit X a whole bunch, keep going, and that looked like the whole game to me. And I'm like, that doesn't look like fun. After playing the demo, my mind completely changed. Like I'm like totally on board for this remake now. I'm buying it like day one. I'm gonna play it. I really, really enjoyed it.
See, I got a pickup at Best Buy. Like I pre-ordered it, and I'm gonna do like a curbside drug deal pickup to get my Final Fantasy VII fix.
Yep.
I've just been humbled. So Final Fantasy VII is actually on Steam. There is a PC port of the original game.
Yeah, so the funny thing about that version, it's pretty much the old one. It's got a few additions, like there's a few like quality of life things you can do that you don't have to do, like you can heal yourself between battles for free. There's like a speed up feature. The awkward part, they have mouths now. Like in the old one on their old models, they don't have any mouths because, it's a PS1, it's really compressed. You couldn't see it anyway, so they just don't have any. But in this one, they do.
I don't even remember them not having mouths. Now I gotta look up a picture.
That thought is just so weird to me.
Yeah, it's like the tiniest of changes, but it's just such a weird one.
No, they have a mouth. It's just like a black line though.
The old one?
Yeah, the old one has a little black line.
Yeah, I mean...
But
sometimes.
yeah, I see what you mean, because in this PC version, they had like actual mouths, while on the original one, it's literally just a black line.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I meant. Like, in the old version, there wasn't really much there. The new one,
No.
there's something real there.
Yeah.
Okay. So, would you guys suggest the original Final Fantasy VII after playing the remake, or what you've seen of it, Nemo?
Okay, so here's the thing.
I'd say play one or the other one. They're gonna spoil each other. That's the thing. You have to figure out which one you want to invest more time in. And I'd say the new one, just because there's gonna be higher graphics, probably a lot more emotional tension. That's more verbal, and you can see it on their face, like the emotions. Because the original one, granted, I had a lot of emotional. It had a lot of emotional impact on me. That's because I put emotion into it. Does not necessarily mean that the game itself has that.
Well,
emotion.
I think it does.
Because
But...
you're reading off the text. I think it does too, but I've been in conversation with people who say, oh, no, it's just people don't think that text can give off that good of emotion, and I think that's more of the people that can't sympathize, I suppose.
Right. I mean,
I don't want to call them out for being, anything, but I've been very, very lengthy conversation with people that state that text is the worst kind of way to present a video game.
well, let's also be real. Anyone
I
who's
love
listened
text
this
games.
long into the podcast is a JRPG fan. So I would say
Right.
yes, you should
And
go
they
for
resent
it. Because
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII, it has a message that isn't going to be dated anytime soon. Like, not just, the whole save the earth kind of thing. It's also kind of the finding your purpose, who you are kind of deal, which is a lot of Cloud's story, because, not to spoil everything, but he isn't quite who he thinks he is. And that's kind of just something everyone goes through at some point in their life. And I do think it is presented in a way that a lot of games would have not done at the time, and even today, when they try to emulate it, they don't quite reach that point.
Okay.
And, personally, Final Fantasy VII, even if it has that blocky PS1 style, it is my favorite Final Fantasy. I'm not going to say it is the best one. I feel like every Final Fantasy is so different from each other, there's not much of a point in saying one is an absolute best one.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Especially because,
I definitely agree with
Final Fantasy X, everyone loves that game. It's such a
Mhm.
revolutionary title. If you are a game on PS2, I feel like the things you have to compare it to is this worth more than Final Fantasy X?
So my plan here is to play the 7 remake
Mm-hmm.
and then wait for the other ones. All right, I'm gonna have to hold it in and wait and be real sad when I beat the 7 remake while waiting for the next ones. But I'm gonna wait for the other parts. I'm gonna play those and then afterwards go back and play the original.
Well, Flaffy, what you could do instead of, waiting 6 years for all the parts, you can do the new remake. Then only you'd spent 2 weeks to beat that remake. Well,
Okay,
probably
okay.
less because, quarantine right now, so you'll probably beat it in 5 days. But
Okay.
you do the remake, and then you only play that first bit of the old one. So, you
Uh-huh.
just spent 5 days on that, and then you spend about 8 hours on the old one, and then you stop.
That sounds rough.
What I'm probably gonna do is I'm gonna play the old one, whether or not it's gonna be on my PS2, PC, or whatever. I'm gonna play the old one, and then when I get around to it, I'll probably borrow my friend's PS4 or something and play the new one.
Okay.
That's gonna be my plan because I already know the story somewhat. What I'm really curious about with the story though is there's one component. Which one? I'm sure you remember this. Remember the one part where he cross dresses?
Yes. Yeah, that's been shown in the trailer. It's still happening.
Oh,
Yep.
you're pulling my.
No.
I want to look it up, but at the same time I don't. Ooh.
It's still happening. They can't cut it out. It's like an iconic moment.
It is, but I mean, I was just expecting it to not be a thing for
Oh,
some
the best
reason. I
part.
don't
So
know.
Don Corneo, the fat guy, he's voiced by Mark Hamill in the remake.
What?
Yeah. Luke
I didn't know
Skywalker
that.
is a...
The more we talk, the more I want to get a PS4.
Oh
God.
my gosh. So, Nemo, you don't have a PS4. Roman, do you think the just where we are, especially with the game consoles and stuff, do you think the generation leap that we're about to have is going to be a problem for people?
I kind of wonder... So, the second part, it's going to take... I think it's going to come out 2 years after the first part. Because the first part was probably the hardest to do, because that's where they had the most to create. They had to make the battle system and all that. The second part will be a bit easier. I wonder how they are going to deal with the overworld. That is something I'm confused about, because Final Fantasy hasn't had a true overworld since Final Fantasy IX. So they haven't had a fully 3D game with an overworld. So either this will be the first, or it might take like Final Fantasy 15's approach.
Which would you prefer?
I kind of like if it's the old one, but
Really?
I'd be okay with 15's approach as well, but I don't want them to take 10's approach or 13's approach where it's mostly
I agree.
cut out.
Yes. Me too.
Like,
I haven't played the older ones.
It's fine in 10. It wasn't fine in 13, but I don't want to see it be used in 7.
See, I liked it in 13 because I was able to grind out levels really easily in comparison to previous Final Fantasies. Like this one, you just walk in door, walk out door, walk in door, walk out door, walk in door, and eventually you'll just be getting points for just doing that one action. It's like, okay, like you found a new area, so then this stat will increase when you find this one enemy, or yada yada, because you're a little encyclopedia or whatever.
Yeah, it wouldn't work for 7 at all, but 13 too had a weird system where, like, there was a menu, kind of like 10's, but, so 13.2 had time travel, so you kind of time hop to different stages, and I kind of compare it more to a collectathon like Banjo-Kazooie, because in each time period you have to find a bunch of items and you have a checklist. And that was a really interesting system for a JRPG. Wouldn't work for 7, but I just think it was a neat thing that I'm not going to talk about anywhere else. So how many parts do y'all think it'll be? Nemo, you'd probably have a better idea, so let's hear Flaffy first.
Honestly, you guys are saying 3, but from what I'm being told about how much of like the actual story we're getting from the original game in this remake, I'm thinking it's gonna be 4.
So let me give my reason for why I think 3. So in the original, there's a lot of parts that don't need to be expanded on, and Midgar is a part that I do think could have been expanded on. And I think, so also from trailers I've seen, it kind of looks like there's a few plot points that are originally from later in the game that are moved up. Like, there's a lot of stuff that flashes back to Cloud and Tifa as kids, and that was closer to the mid or later mid game, and that looks like it's going to be in this first part.
Which I'm glad, because that will set up the character for Cloud, Strife, and his quote-unquote future companion, or whatever we want to call her. And that will help us understand his emotional what's the word? His idea of why he joined Soldier, or tried to, at least.
Yeah, and because, like, in the original, by the time you reached that point, you knew the characters, but it hadn't been so long that you keep wondering. It hasn't been long enough. What's the word I'm looking for here? Because it was a shorter game, by the time you reached there, it was the right beat to keep you going. There's not going to be that beat to keep you going if it's 40 hours plus another 20 of the next part.
Well, what they could do with that, then, is they could take what they have in these other games, and rather than this being just a Final Fantasy VII remake, it's more like a Final Fantasy VII storyline, where it just takes all of those within this Final Fantasy VII universe, because all these Final Fantasy games, they're like in their own separate, regards. This one, they can take all the Final Fantasy VII and just be like, all right, well, there's this game, this game, this game, this game. Let's figure out a true canon and then put that in these games, so they can add in Zack or Vincent or any of these little collections that they played, so that you can show more of the story. It can be Crisis Core, Cerberus. They can even probably show some Advent Children or something in there if they just wanted to like tease us, or they could expose more about the characters Denzel and Tifa, or literally any other characters. They could expand upon those, because they didn't do that in the original game. They did those in other games because they realized, hey, we didn't really focus on them too much. We should add a little bit to it.
Yeah, I kind of hope there's some of that in some way. I think Zack would probably be the character they could do the most, because if you remember, in the original 7, Zack wasn't a character. He was an idea, but he wasn't a someone,
Yeah.
Well, like
I can see that.
Crisis Core and Birth by Sleep as well, to an extent, actually gave him a personality, which I'd like to see whenever he shows up, if that's another flashback they move forward or if it's the next part. I'm still pretty
I'm excited
confident.
to see Barrett.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident it'll be
his little
3
dynamic.
parts. I think, first part is Midgar, second part is the rest of Disc 1, maybe a little bit of Disc 2, and then third part is the rest. Because if you remember, Disc 3 of the original, it was some side quests and the final dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not truly a 3-disc game.
Yeah, I don't ever remember playing the third disc, being completely honest with you. I thought it was a 2-disc game, so I'm actually looking that up right now.
It's probably
I think I might have played disc 1 and 2 only, and I actually never finished the series.
Well, maybe it's because you forgot Disc 3 is only the final dungeon.
Maybe.
Right.
So
I'm gonna check my disc. I have it over here.
So the third disc didn't have much.
No, I mean, there were some side quests you could only do on Disc 3, I think. There was a couple of ultimate weapons you could only get on the third disc. Like,
How did they handle the
Oh my
jumping
god, there
between
are
discs?
3!
yeah, there's 3. What were you
There's
saying,
3.
Fluffy?
How did they handle the jumping between discs?
Oh, when you reached a certain point in the story, usually a very important one, it would give you these really cool screens. I love the art style on them. And it just says, end of disc 1, please put in disc 2. And
Okay.
and it had it in English and Japanese, so I wonder if it was, like, the same in every territory, and they just wanted to skip translating it. Whew. Well, the game comes out 3 days from now of this recording. I don't know the upload date, but I feel like we got a pretty hefty amount of discussion in. So just another plug for myself. I'm Roman. You can find my videos at NovaZone TV. Similar to this subject, I have a video about the sequels to Final Fantasy XIII, so I would recommend that one. Flaffy?
I run the channel called Gaming's Brink, and I kind of do reviews and talk about why children should play certain games. So if you want to find me, you can just look up Gaming's Brink.
All right, Nemo?
I'm Nemo Nobody. I run a lot of channels I probably shouldn't have that much power in, but you can find my personal channels at Nemo Nobody on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
All right, well, that has been the Final Fantasy VII Remake Game Domain podcast. You can also find a lot more Game Domain content on this very channel, including other podcasts. I hope y'all all have a good night.
Bye.
Peace.
Have a nice life.
Have a nice life.
Don't drown, it's not good for your health.